Good morning, my name is Marius Ungerer. I'm here at We Read For You, and I'm going to talk about my latest two books. The one is Crystallising the Strategic Business Landscape, and the other one is Navigating Strategic Possibilities. These two books complement each other. Crystallising is all about analyzing the external and internal environment of a firm, and navigating is the strategy development process that is required to set a firm on a flourishing route. So the two books complement and they are working in tandem to create great organizations. First of all, these two books complement each other. They have different focuses. So the Crystallising the Strategic Business Landscape, it is about looking at the macro external environment, analyzing that, looking at the market, analyzing the market and the competitor. It's also about not only the external, but it's about the internal environment, analyzing the internal environment, where on the other side, navigating the strategic possibilities, that's all about strategic choices. If I can then talk directly on crystallizing the strategic landscape, our key departure points for this book is that analysis is the critical starting point for strategic thinking. This book then contains about 70 tools, framework, application guidelines on how to do an internal and external analysis of a firm. We are reflecting an E and a digital strategy perspective, complementing the physical world as we know it. Then systems thinking, a systemic view, a complexity view, that's definitely part of the diversity that you would see. Case studies and the examples are then therefore also mixed. It isn't just all about Starbucks or McDonald's or these global brands, but it's definitely also about South African companies. 7 chapters in the book. The first chapter and sort of general introduction. 3 chapters on foresight development, because you are analyzing, but you are analyzing with a purpose. You want to develop foresight about this external environment and the implications of that for the future. When you go internally in the organization, 2 chapters on developing insight. So what do we understand about our current position? And then thirdly, you need to integrate those 2 sites in what we call cross-site, and that's your ability to synthesize. This is what you will get in each chapter. In chapter 1, of course, the systems thinking view, iceberg analysis, Kahneman system 1 and 2 thinking, mental models, individual assumptions and the influence of that. Chapter 2, global standards that's influencing our analysis perspectives, the Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations Global Compact, the global risk analysis. Chapter 3, the competitive context, a whole lot of tools on industry analysis, a lot of tools on competitor analysis, and then of course introducing the concept of cooperation and co-opetition. The internal analysis, a financial analysis with all those ratios, risk analysis, that's the internal risk analysis, and then other general analysis. Then chapter 6 as a more generic analysis tool, and then chapter 7, this synthesis part, starting off with your assumptions, a business model view, an integrated SWOT, and then analyzing the stages of the business development. So this gives you a flavor of what is happening. There is, however, one dimension that is coming fast to the fore. And that is the whole concept of exponential technologies. What are the things we're talking about there? What is this exponential technology? It's things like blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning, drones, 3D printing, robotics, etc., etc. So to conclude then, the external environment, our internal environment, it is part of us. We cannot operate as if we are on an island alone. And yes, our scanning ability, we need to sort of increase this. And here is a practical opportunity to participate in that and expand our views. So let me go on to navigating strategic possibilities. And as I've indicated, this is all about developing a strategy. Strategy is never an individual right. It's an emerging pattern. It's never something alone. It's never something that you just do. It's many things. Based on what? Based on strategic choices. And the question is, how conscious are you about the strategic choices that you are making? We are not promoting a recipe here, but we are promoting artful thinking, and that's where this thing of navigating. You are navigating yourself in this competitive environment. The companion of strategy development is uncertainty. We are moving away from a traditional view to a view on strategy that it is an open strategy. It means in open inclusion. It is more about asking. So Gary Hamel is saying, unity without diversity leads to dogma, and diversity without unity. So yes, you have this diversity, but there's no sort of alignment. Results in competing strategic agendas and fragmentation of resources. So only a strategy making process which is both deep and wide can achieve both diversity and unity. Apart from that, we are integrating consciously the viewpoints of strategies about operational efficiencies and benchmarks and all of those good things, or strategies about the future, and it's about scenarios, and it's about a competitive analysis, or it's about the behavior and culture. It's about visions and values and organization learning and systems thinking. We are consciously integrating these views and saying these are not separate. And how we do that is through the concept of a strategic architecture. In the book, we then have these building blocks that help us then to integrate these multiple views. So the first building block is strategic leadership. Nothing happens in strategy if there isn't leadership. Then secondly, the building block of internal and external analysis. Building block 3 is then about strategy formulation. Building block 4 is about developing multiple futures, so that's the scenario processes. Building block 5, once you've done all of those things, need to be executed. Building block on strategy renewal and innovation is part of this game. And then the 7th building block is entrepreneurial leadership. But the concept of architecture is quite fundamental for us. So it explains the core logic for creating value on a sustainable basis, and it is the foundation of the organization's competitive potential. Competitive behavior and potential can be altered and can be influenced when an organization redefines its strategic architecture. And in that sentence lies all the power. It is what we make with these building blocks, and we can therefore shape our future. The concept is quite fundamental, and that gives us the way to influence and reflect all these different multiple views. in the middle, at the heart of this book, is chapter 2 and 3. First, the chapter on strategic choices, and I will now show you the depth of the choices that's available to us. Then a chapter on developing a business model perspective and doing a sort of normative and competitive assessment of that. Then the strategy execution. Then we've got 3 chapters on renewal. First of all, strategy innovation tools. Then we have a chapter on inorganic growth. Chapter 8, managerial innovation. Chapter 9, again, back into the strategic theme. So strategic leadership is the capacity to anticipate change, to envision strategies, while maintaining flexibility and empowering others to create and sustain strategic momentum to ensure a flourishing organization benefiting a variety of stakeholders. We make choices around the identity of the organization. We make choices around the competitiveness of the organization, and we make choices around the business model of the organization. So this is the menu of competitive choices, and at the highest level, level 1, are those identity and aspirational descriptions. The second level is the generic strategic choices. Then on a third level, there is a concept of grand strategies, and what we've done with the grand strategies, we've sort of broke them down into 4 categories of competence growth strategies, external orientated growth strategies, strategic space creation growth strategies, and rationalization strategies. The other choice is, of course, around the business model. And yes, we've used Osterwilder, so we've used the same sort of template, but we've added 3 components, so we're working with 12 components. Key metrics, it comes from lean methodology. And then at the center, at the bottom, the whole issue of competitiveness, because that's at the heart of strategy. All of those 12 elements, we can group then into market participative strategies, competitive strategy components, resource and process strategy components, and profit strategy components. So, and of course, the idea is to have a virtuous interaction between these elements, because they need to reinforce each other. So, in summary then, the book consists navigating strategic possibilities, 9 chapters, with these as the core sort of themes: strategic leadership, formulation, multiple futures, execution, and strategic renewal and innovation. Montgomery is quite a recognized author in this field of strategy, and she has sort of said the following, that a great strategy's got the following features. It's got a compelling reason for existence of the organization, and it's clear and it's reflected in an idea and an identity of the organization. The question about the difference the organization makes in the world and why that matters is answered. The core strategic choices of the organization are well understood to do what is required today to matter tomorrow. The differentiating features of the strategy is well described and is difficult to imitate. There's a tailored and interwoven set of activities as part of an activity system or systems for value creation. Progress is monitored through meaningful metrics, and a passion and deep care for the strategy exists in stakeholders to make it a lived reality. So I'm quite sure that this book covers these aspects, and that this book will give you more than enough clues on how to make strategy great in your environment.